everybody. We're doing some morning movements. All right, slowly loosening up so that we can get our whole bodies prepared for the day, and we're gonna get started basically right now. We're gonna get started with some gentle movement to slowly get through that range of motion available to us at our joints. We're gonna go from our hands all the way up to the neck, down to the hips, down to the ankles, and then we're going to continue with a whole bunch of posture and back strengthening work. Cool? So let's go ahead and get started with our hands. We're going to open up the hands all the way as wide as you can. Make some fists. Open, fists, open, fists, open, fists, open, fists. It doesn't have to be super intense. You don't have to go and open up your palms as much as possible so that all your fingers muscles are going crazy. And be a little bit more gentle if you'd like. Again, we're just trying to work through our range of motion. Slowly wake up the hands. Slowly wake up the wrists. All right. When you're ready, go ahead and move on into some wrist circles. And if you know how to sort of use your own muscles to pull your wrist into these wrist circles, great. Go ahead and do that. But if you're not quite sure, you're like, wait, how do you get your wrist to go all the way back? Feel free to take one hand, grab the other, and slowly use one hand to move the other hand in its full range of motion. All right? When you do these, nice and slow and gentle across your whole body, you start waking up the muscles around the joint. You start getting a little bit of very thoughtful movement to help your body remember to relax, remember to control itself, remember to do good things. Your muscles wake up, right? Switch to the other direction. We want to do both directions all the time. If you prefer to interlace your fingers to do it, great. If you get a little bit more comfortable, you might be able to do both hands at the same time. Right? Something that looks like this. And if we do it this way though, it might be a little bit more crazy on one wrist because we've been doing one hand for a long time. Anyways, keep going. Switch hands. There isn't an exact number I want you to do, but I do want you to get more familiar, feel smoother with the wrist movement so that you're like, oh, I totally get it. This feels nice. If you go a little too long, go a little too hard, your wrist will get a little tired and be like, So try not to get too deep into the, I'm doing 100 of these right now type mode. Cool? All right. From here, we've worked on our wrists. We've worked on our hands. We've made fists. We've opened them up. We've worked through those joints. We're going to move up into the elbows, right? The elbow's main job typically is this, right? Bring your wrists up towards your shoulders. But that is not the only available range of motion that you got in that elbow. So what we're going to work on, our elbow circles, is going to look a little bit like this. All right, we're going to tuck. We're going to make some chicken wings. We're going to tuck our wrists sort of into our armpits, into our ribs. We're going to slowly bring it back and around. All right, going to wake up our elbows with a couple of these chicken swimming things. Chicken wing swimming. We can slowly do 10. That'll be plenty for now. Try not to get to these muscles in your shoulders too tense, especially if you're doing these for the first time. It's highly likely you'll be like, what is this? These chicken flying things. We are trying to get our joints to move, right? We're not necessarily trying to get all the other muscles around them fired up and tensed up and completely stuck for the next however many reps you're going to do. All right? Whew. If your shoulders are tired, if your arms are tired, go ahead, give it a flap. Let it relax for a second. Because again, this is a light joint warm up. All right? We're not trying to beat ourselves up trying to get into these positions. However, if it's your first time, oh, sorry, we're going reverse next. So before we tucked our wrists into our armpits, into our ribs, we're going to go behind now. We're going to pull the back of our hand across our ribs as we come back on this elbow circle. I'm too close to the screen. All right, let's go back. Yeah. We're going to pull the back of our hands through our ribs when we do these elbow circles. All right, and once you got the general motion a little bit, let your shoulders come on down. Let them relax a little bit because they're going to be tired from you going wah 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 wah. And we've been doing this for a while. We're probably fine. All right. Those are the elbow circles, wrist circles, hands. We're gonna move up the arms. We're gonna do some arm circles. All right. You don't have to go fast. You don't have to go intense. But I want you to try and get some full, nice, beautiful circles all the way around. Work yourself through that range of motion. Your shoulder blades are very complex. There's like 16 muscles or something that help attach to that lump of this thing right here. And that bone is floating there, just being controlled by 16 different muscles. So if you're really good at using one or two of them, chances are the other 14 are going to be really upset. So you kind of want to practice movement and coordination across a whole set of muscles in order to move well. If you only train a couple of specific muscles, they're gonna get real strong, they're gonna take over everything, and all of a sudden you're gonna be like, wait, what? What's going on? Why are my shoulders always so stiff? It's because you got a couple of super strong muscles doing all the work all the time, and then all the other ones are weak and stretched out and can't do the work that you need to be able to do. So keep moving. Have fun with movement. Enjoy movement. Don't overtrain one muscle group. Alright? Let's keep going. If you haven't already, reverse directions on your arm circles. If your shoulders are tired, switch to the other side. This isn't necessarily, muscle training. We're just trying to get our joints to go through the things that they're able to do with intention. So if one shoulder gets tired, you can feel free to switch to the other side, come back a little bit later. And when you're just getting started, 10 reps in each direction is plenty. But as you realize these are good for you, these are comfortable for you, if you want to do more, go for it. If you want to do 20, you want to do 30, you want to do 50 on each joint. If you have a little bit of an achy joint already and you want to do a little bit more to help get that joint smoothed out a little bit, perhaps, feel free to try a little bit more. All right. What else are we doing? Actually, I feel like we did one set of arm circles a lot, and the other arm circles not nearly as much. Talked way less on this side. So let's even it out a little bit. And those are some arm circles. Ready? Nice and gentle. Cool. We've finished the arms. Now some of your muscles, maybe these delts, that's what the lumpy part right here is called, are a little bit tired. That's okay. It's a good sign. We don't need them very much for the rest of the show, so it'll be fine. Next, we're gonna work on the neck. All right, I'm gonna scoot my face over to the camera so it's a little easier to see what the neck is doing. All right, from here, the neck has got three main movements. It can look left, it can look right, it can tuck it down, it can go up, and it can also tilt. When you combine all those things, it becomes sort of this circling motion, right? But we're going to focus on the three main things one at a time. I want you to be able to look directly to the left and directly to the right. That, in most people, would be a sign that you got a relatively healthy, normal neck, right? With, some movement training, perhaps. So, I want you to look directly left without your chin going all over the place. I want you to look directly left and see if you can almost look over across your shoulder and do the same on the other side. Take it nice and slow and chill and to the left and to the right and to the left and to the right. This one is probably going to make your neck muscles quite tired because you're probably going to be pulling your neck into a little bit more depth, a little bit more range than you're used to. I know nobody's checking their blind spots, not seriously these days. So, you know, this will probably help with that. The easier you can make accessing that range of motion with your neck, the easier it will be to check your blind spot. And your blind spot only has you checking your left side, right? Or I mean, if you drive on the left side, it's checking your left side. If you drive on the right side, you're only checking your right side. So let's even it out with some very thoughtful rotations. If you can go a little further than directly to your left, directly to your right, amazing. Congratulations. If you cannot, slowly work on it. Cool. They should not be painful. They should not be intense. You're not pounding at that range of motion with your neck. You're not whiplashing your head by swinging it from side to side. So don't feel like you need to catch up. I haven't been counting for that reason. I don't want you to feel like, oh, I have to do 10. And all of a sudden you're like, whoa. These are all about moving your joints through the range of motion, being gentle with your body, taking care of the joints, making sure that, whatever it is that you actually do during the day, you get a little bit of thorough movement through the joint. Cool? That's the neck. Going left, going right. Let's tuck it, chin down, and chin up. Cool? Slowly stand up nice and straight and tall first. Then we're going to tuck the chin. Nice and slow. Bring the chin down. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. If you're feeling anything like a sharp, intense pain, it's probably a good sign that you got something going on in your neck and you should maybe get that checked out. So, and potentially stop doing the movements. But for the average person, your neck should be able to go pretty far back. You should be able to look up slightly back behind you. And then you should be able to get your chin pretty darn close to touching your chest. All right? Slowly work your way through that range of motion. You might notice some tension on one side of your neck. You might remember, oh, hey, look, that's that part where I had that weird like muscle thing the other day, and now I'm still feeling it when we get into this neck stretch looking joint thing. That is very normal. Alright. A lot of the weirdness that you wake up and you're like, oh man, my neck doesn't work today. I'm so stiff. A lot of that stuff stays stuck in your body. But in your normal range of motion, you might not feel it anymore. But in the more crazy ranges of motion, like when your neck is all the way stretched out, when your chin is all the way down like this, you might remember, oh, hey, I remember that thing being a little uncomfortable like 2 weeks ago. I'm speaking from experience. I have a little weird neck thing that kicked in at this point, probably like 3 weeks ago. And still feeling it a little bit, not here, not here, not here, not here, but when I get my chin real close to my chest, right at the very, very limit of my range of motion, start to feel a little tug here in the left side of my neck, down to my shoulder blade. And if you completely ignore it, it's probably never going to get better. So, I should probably take care of that soon. All right. Once you've done a bunch of these, and you're like, wow, my neck is got way more range of motion than I remember. We're gonna move on to the next chunk of the neck. All right. We have done side to side. We've done up and down. Now we're gonna do some tilting. All right. Most of us probably don't do very much of this unless we're going, "Hua, hua," we're gonna crack our necks like we're copying some macho, violent movie dude trying to show off how scary they are, right? That's like the only time you see anything that looks like this. Or you're mimicking your dog and you're going, huh? And so let's take care of it. All right. Sit up nice and straight. Look forward. Keep your head relatively neutral. Don't lift your chin too high or bring it too low. And we're going to tilt to the right. All right. We're going to try and bring the ear down towards the shoulder. and we're going to do both sides. And we're trying not to rotate the head too much. When we do this, you'll be tempted because there are, so many muscles that would like you to rotate, but we're trying to get the stretch straight down the side of the neck. All right. This move is really effective to combine with a neck stretch. So if you've ever felt like you needed some extra relaxation here in the left and right side, we're going to take this exact movement. We can turn into a stretch. If you stick your hand and you grab the bottom of a chair and you sort of lean in the opposite direction of the arm that's holding onto the chair, and then you kind of pull on your neck a little bit in that direction, the opposite direction of the arm, you can get a crazy stretch in the neck, like so. This is me jumping ahead to making that movement a little bit more useful for you. When you're a little bit more gentle with it, you're just working on getting the joints through their range of motion, nice and easy. Right? Let's go from side to side. But when you're trying to undo some tension, you need a little bit more pressure to get your muscles to relax. Yeah, do a little bit more. Ooh. Oh, if you're trying it, take it nice and slow. It's very intense. And if you're not trying it, that's okay. I hope your neck is still feeling loose. Cool? Alright, we have done probably enough of the next stuff. Let's move on down to the torso. Cool? We're gonna probably come back into standing because it's a little easier, but if you want to sit, it's still doable seated. What we're gonna do next looks a little bit like this. We're gonna use our rotation in the back, in the chest, to help bring our shoulders across. Alright? And then we're trying to keep the hips in the same spot. So we're not going like this, right? We're trying to get the shoulders to come across. We're keeping the hips in the same spot. From here, I want you to relax your arms a little bit so that when you go over and you come back, your arms are swinging a little bit, right? You don't have to be super intense with it, but for the first couple of reps, maybe use your muscles to pull yourself into position. And then once you know what you're trying to do, once you know and understand you're trying to rotate the upper half of your body, we're going to let the arms take part a little tiny bit. We're going to make it a little graceful. We're just going to spin from side to side and get that spine rotating. Whew. And in addition to getting the spine rotating, we're going to look over our shoulder. So we're going to get our neck to rotate even further to the left and right. We're basically combining the neck thing we just did with a little bit of spine stuff. But the neck thing isn't the only reason why we look to the left and right. Typically, your body, when you're trying to do something, is going to follow the direction your head is looking. All right? So if we want that spine to rotate, typically it's going to be helpful to also be looking in the direction that you want your spine to be rotating towards. And we'll do an example right now. If I'm going to stare straight at you guys, straight at the camera, I'm going to rotate my torso. Is really, really hard compared to looking that way and getting a little bit more, right? It's not that you can't do it, it's just that your body is more inclined to focus on or stopping at whatever it is that you're looking at instead of going just a little bit further. So if you give it some extra love, you get your neck rotating with it, should be easier to go and access a little bit more range of motion. Right? We want the arms to be relaxed. This is not about flopping the arms, or it's not about moving the arms with intention. It's more about letting them whip around from side to side so that you got a little extra momentum and it's a little bit more fun. All right. Whew. That is some spine rotation. Now we're going to do some spine flexion, extension, and bending in all sorts of directions. All right. And just like how we did our neck, going down and up, we're going to do the same with our spine. All right. We are going to get into an ultra slouch. I'm going to feel a huge amount of stretch here in the mid and upper back. And then we're going to tuck the chin to the chest. Whew. You can do this from seated. You can do this standing. You can do this on all fours. This is the cat-cow, all right? Then we're gonna bring the neck back. We're gonna bring the chin up. We're gonna lift that chest. We're going to put an arch here in the spine. And that is basically a cat-cow. We just did it standing. If you have a stool, maybe a backless chair, you can do it relatively comfortably seated. And then the version that you usually see on the internet looks a little bit like this. Hands are underneath your shoulders, knees are underneath your hips, and we are doing the back rounding first. We're lifting the mid back as high into the air as possible. We're pushing the shoulders apart. We're pushing our hands into the ground and trying to lift our upper back, tuck the chin, and then come down. Bring the belly button down towards the ground. Create this arch here in your spine. Lift your head up. Look up, chin up. Feel the contraction in the back. Release the chest here in the front. And we're going to do a couple of these. All right. Take your time with these. These should not be explosive. They definitely don't need to be fast. What we are trying to do, what we're trying to do for this whole entire show is to get your joints to move through their maximum range of motion with control so that you maintain your maximum range of motion. You don't get so stiff anymore, and you have tools for helping to loosen up, to help you move a little bit smoother. All right. We have done probably at least 3 of these now, right? 4. And now you got 3 versions of doing this. The reason why I gave you 3 versions and why we're demonstrating 3 versions is because sometimes your back needs a little bit of movement. Your back is feeling stiff. Your back feels like you are a penguin and all you can do is waddle from side to side because your spine and your hips are not moving at all. That happens all the time. So, if you need to not be on all fours on the floor, feel free to try it from a seated position. If you're standing in line at a grocery store and you're like, this is gonna look weird, but my back sucks, so let's do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Even if it's not through your full entire range of motion, sometimes just getting a little bit of movement helps loosen up stiff muscles, and having less stiff muscles just helps you feel better in general, so you're not going, ugh. All right. I'll see you guys in a second. Bye. All right. What did we just do? We did the cat cow, and now we got some side bends. Travel with Rexy says, good morning, everyone. Good morning. We got a whole bunch of hellos and a whole bunch of emojis. Amazing. Thank you, everybody, for the good vibes. What are we doing next? We're doing some side bends. All right. From a seated position, you can do side bends like this. Just sit up nice and straight and tall. Let your arms relax, drape to the sides. And we're going to slowly lean to one side. We're going to lift this rib cage up on one side. We're going to try and stick our arms straight down. We're going to do a little bending. All right. This isn't the same as just kind of flopping over. This is trying to bend the spine. So you're lifting one shoulder, you're bringing the other shoulder down. Feeling a stretch on this side, and you're trying to stay relatively compact while bending on one side. Ooh, wow, my left side really liked that one. All right, let's stay here for a little bit. You can treat this as a stretch when you're first getting into it. Take the first couple reps real slow. And then as you get a little looser, a little less stiff, you can pick up the tempo a little bit. And if you're going to do a standing version, I recommend that you do it up against the wall if you can, because oftentimes when we start doing this, we start to rotate, we start to twist a little bit. And if your shoulders are up against the wall, that will be a nice reminder of where not twisting is, because your shoulders are going to stay against the wall, right? If one shoulder goes really far away from the wall, then chances are you're twisting. Whew. You're going to feel a nice stretch here in your obliques, maybe a little bit in the sides of your back, in your lats. And we're going to lean from side to side. Oh, yeah, that's nice. Oh. All right. Do a couple of those. A little shake from side to side. Right. Some of those muscles that you unstiffened. See if you can just get a little bit of movement, right? We don't have to go crazy all the time and get maximum range. Sometimes you just need a little wiggle, need a little shimmy to help loosen up your muscles in the back, in the waist, and the hips, and all you need is a little wiggle, a little dance. If you can slowly take all the different little tiny pieces of the back, the side bending, the front and back bending, and you start adding it together, sometimes it just turns into a couple of body rolls. You're just rolling with the spine, bringing it back and forth. Sometimes you're just doing a little shimmy with your shoulders. You're getting a little bend to the right, little bend to the left, little bend to the right, little bend to the left. You're dropping your hips, you're popping them, going boom, 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 right? So if you're really stiff, some of these might seem crazy. You might be, what the heck are you doing? But that is the whole point of all of this, is to help you loosen up, to help you move your body the way it's intended. And hopefully, once you've really learned how to control some of these motions, the rotation, the stretch, you'll be able to take a tiny little bit of it, like 20% of the total range of motion you've been working on, and then you'll be able to pick up the speed, do a little dance, wiggle, 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 and hopefully that becomes just a nice little tool you have for the rest of your life to help you just go, my back is a little stiff, let's do a little wiggle. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Okay, enough wiggling. We're gonna move down into the hips, right? Because we did side bends. Yes, let's move down into the hips. We're gonna do some hip circles. These are gonna be a little bit more straightforward, so I'm gonna explain it a little bit less. We're just trying to lean into each. Oh, my hamstrings are real tight. I felt that one. We're gonna lean into each of the areas of the hip joint, right? So I'm gonna pop this hip out to the side here. Feel the stretch in the side of your glutes, side of your hips. Come on around. Feel it on the other side. Lean back so you feel it here in the front of your hips. You can do these ultra fast. You're probably not going to feel anything. If you take them a little slower, you'll feel your joints moving through your hip sockets. You'll feel your thigh bones moving through your hip sockets, and you'll feel all the different places where you got a whole bunch of tension, right? A lot of people have a lot of tension here when they start bending backwards. This front section, your hip flexors, tend to get real tight and not want to move, right? That is the same set of muscles that get stuck when you're lunging backwards and this leg can't go back. And when you start doing your hip circles, start gently working through that range of motion. Helps you get loose, helps you wake up, and helps you chill out. All right. We started these super intensely, going through every little bit of range of motion. But if you want to start combining it into something crazy looking, you can take your shoulders, you can move your mid back, you can move your hips, you can do some crazy looking hula hooping and kind of combine it all into one crazy flowy movement. Haven't really talked about this in the last couple of weekends that we've been doing this version of the live, but when you move smoothly, everything is good. All right. When you're not moving smoothly, chances are something needs a little bit of extra work. So enjoy all of the range of motion you learned a little bit about today and add more movement into your life. Sometimes all you gotta do is little dance. All right. Next, we're gonna move down. We're gonna move on to our knees. The knee joint. Somebody commented, I think, over on TikTok. Flexion is very similar to what the elbow joint does, right? It pulls the palm, the hands up to the shoulders. This pulls the ankle up to your butt. That's the main job of that joint, and extend so you straighten out the leg. What we're gonna do is not gonna be limited to just doing some knee bends. All right, just same thing that we were doing for our elbow circles. We're going to bring our legs together so that our ankles or knees are relatively close together, maybe 2 fingers apart ish. If you need to, feel free to bring them together. It'll be a little bit more stable. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna lean slightly to one side. We're gonna do that knee bend. Then we're gonna lean and then come back into stand. All right, we're gonna go forward and down and back and around. We're gonna combine all those little movements into a little smoother circle. I want you to try to keep your feet down on the ground, right? We don't need to be all the way out there. That's gonna put a lot of pressure on your knee, but also you're not gonna be very stable if a third of your foot is on the ground. All right, so keep your feet down. If they're getting pulled in a crazy direction, you want to work on your feet, strength, and mobility. That's great. You can absolutely do that while you're doing the knee stuff. But remember, the focus is on the knees, and your knees are kind of important. So a little bit more stability is probably a good thing. All right. So recap. Don't go crazy with it. Don't go flying out all over the place unless you're doing a sport, you're doing a dance, you're doing a skill that requires that kind of movement. For the majority of us, take it nice and chill. Do some knee circles. Come on around. Stay stable if you can, and focus on the range of motion in your knee. Nice and smooth and nice and smooth. And let's do the other direction. Whee! All right. After the knee circles, we're gonna do some ankle circles. We're gonna work out our feet and all the joints and muscles in there a little bit more specifically. And then we'll be done with our very, 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 very thorough, very talkative joint warm up. Whew. All right, those are knee circles. Let's move down to the ankles. If you're new to this, I recommend you take a seat and you grab your ankle and you work through that range of motion with your hands so you understand what your ankles are capable of. All right, you'll be like, oh, really? This is all that it is? For most people, it's going to be like this. It's going to be like you have just a tiny bit of range of motion. You'll be like, really? That's how that works? And that's okay. That's completely normal. The ankles are not exactly like the wrists. They share all the same bones essentially. They share all the same muscles, more or less, and stuff like that, but they work a little different. And that might mean you have a little less range of motion in your ankles compared to your wrists, which should be true. But also, seeing as we generally don't do any foot training or foot care as a normal person, you might be extra restricted. Cool? All right. So we've done one direction, or we've done one leg. Hopefully you've rotated in both directions, because I forgot to tell you that we should probably switch at one point. Keep on going in circles, back and forth, and wake up those ankles. All right. Ankle strength is really important, and it's important because we're stepping, we're walking, we're using our ankles every single day of the week, right? Every single day, maybe every single hour that we're awake, and we need them to keep us balanced. We need them to not roll so that we don't sprain an ankle randomly out of the blue. We need them to help us stay stable. Sometimes it's a combination of stiffness and mobility, right? Stiffness helps us create power, but flexibility helps us prevent injury. If your ankle had the passive flexibility to roll into a position that looks, like this, maybe, where the sides of your feet are the only things that are down, the next time you roll your ankle, it won't be taking you way past what your body is able to handle. It will be like, oh, wow, that's really uncomfortable. I was really not trying to get into that position. That kind of hurts. But after a couple of steps, half a day, you'll be like, oh, okay, cool, we're fine again, right? So your ankles are capable of a lot. Most of us aren't doing anything to protect our ankles. If you've rolled your ankles a lot and you're super worried about rolling the ankle again, maybe it's something you want to try out, try training a little bit. Cool? All right. We worked through our ankle circles using our hands. Now let's see a couple versions where we just use the floor. For example, if you plant your toes down and then you move your hips and your knees, you'll be able to get it through that range of motion yet again. And come on around. 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 Do the other side. These are going to feel much faster than the other ones, I think. Probably because you're not working as hard, or it doesn't feel like you're working as hard. Also, a lot of us might not be able to lift our legs up into this position where we can actively do the ankle rotations very comfortably. Like maybe you can get in there, maybe you can do it, but it's like, oh, this hip is so high. You don't want to be seated in that position. You kind of want to round over, like a witch stewing a pot over a fire. I don't know where that came from, man. But your ankles are rotating while you're like in this weird, awkward position. So, as soon as you know what your ankles are capable of, you can start doing the standing version. All right. If you got some muscles to control the movement, you can experiment with doing it with just your muscle power. All right. And that will be fun. That will be nice. But at the end of the day, what you need to know is what your ankles are capable of. And once you know what they're capable of, you can start doing cool things. All right. That is our ankle movement. We're going to move down further into our toes, into our feet. Your feet have lots of bones, dozens of bones, almost a crazy amount of bones. And for the most part, your toes are capable of exactly what your fingers are capable of, right? We started with this. Most of you probably weren't here for this, but we started with opening up our hands. We're gonna do the same for our toes. I want you to balance your weight on the ball of your foot that is just behind your toes and the heels, and I want you to lift your toes up as high as you can. All right, like this. And now I want you to try to do the opposite. I want you to make some fists. I want you to clench your toes in like the floor is really cold on a winter day and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to have my feet touch. It's so cold. That is what we're doing. All right, we're clenching the feet together. I don't know how you guys do it, but that's how I do it. When it's really cold in the winter, I ball my toes up so it's just like the tips of my toes that are touching, and I walk around the house like this. And yeah, that's how I go to the toilet. Go like this, like a little demon monkey. All right, continuing. Open up those hands and those toes. Close the hands, close the toes. Open up, open up, close. If I'm going a little too fast, remember I talk a lot, so you can take your time to do as many as you'd like at whatever pace you would like. Keep going. Opening, closing, opening, closing, opening, closing. Your toes are also capable of a crazy amount of range of motion, right? Just like how you got people with double jointed fingers who can like pull them really far back. Your feet, for the most part, can do the same thing, right? So you can try to stick your toes so they point downwards, they point towards the ground, right? We're still making that fist, but you can apply a little bit of pressure, like you're cracking your knuckles like this, except using the floor to do it, and you get a nice stretch in the front, the tops of your feet. You can do that on both sides. You can feel that stretch. You can feel those toes getting compressed, and then you can do the opposite. You can do this, all right, with your toes. So now all your toes are down on the ground, but everything else is going straight up off the ground as much as you can. You're gonna feel a nice stretch, possibly here in the bottoms of your feet. Let's do both sides. You don't have to do it this way, by the way. If you want, you can stick your toes directly into a wall and lean into the wall, just like we would for a calf stretch, except I guess it's a toe stretch. What else do we need to know about your toes? You got this thing right here in the middle of your foot. It's called the arch of your foot. It You might have some preconceived notions about whether you have an arch, whether you don't have an arch, whether you have a flat feet, whether you don't have a flat feet, whether or not you're strong there, whatever it is, maybe you have plantar fasciitis, all sorts of stuff about basically this bottom half of your foot, bottom 2/3 of your foot, right? A lot of stuff happens when you don't have good strong muscles in your feet. So, what are some things you can do to strengthen your feet? One very basic thing we all can do a little bit more is calf raises. All right. The slower you take them, the more you focus on the individual muscles in your feet when you do them, the easier it is to combine sort of all of that into one bigger movement. Something else you can do specifically to target some of your foot muscles might look like this. If you got a rag, an old t-shirt, some dirty laundry, This is a dirty rag that I used to clean the floor. I think I spilled some water from the dog bowl earlier. You can try to do things like pulling the rags in with your toes. We're doing that fist thing that we were talking about earlier, and we're pulling the rags in with our toes. The rag also gives you a little bit less friction, so you're not just rubbing your feet raw against the floor. That's what that's for. But if you want to show off, you can also use your toes and pull them in towards you to actually physically move forward towards the cameras. Well, towards the cameras for me. I don't know what you're doing with your cameras, but you can absolutely build up some strength in your toes to use them as a way to move. If you're a bigger person, it's going to be a lot harder, granted, but that's what the towel's for, all right? To give you a little bit of options. All right, we've worked on our toes. We've worked on all the different joints in our body. Hopefully, you're feeling a little bit more awake. You're feeling a little bit looser. You're ready to do some dancing. We're preparing for what is it? It's like Sunday, right? Sunday night dancing, right? And we're gonna move on into some back and posture stuff now. All right. The back and posture stuff specifically is going to help us strengthen some of our back muscles, strengthen the muscles along the backside of our body, including our glutes, our hamstrings, and hopefully help to maintain some natural tone. Let's talk about posture for a second. When we spend a lot of time in a position, our body is incentivized to get really good at being energy efficient in that position, right? When they are getting energy efficient in that position, that is when we have posture. We're just chilling like this in front of the computer, getting that nice round and relaxing like this, right? For 8 hours a day. That's that time that we spend in that position is us reinforcing, teaching the body that this is what we want. So make it efficient, make it effective, be lazy, all right? And that's why it's so hard to change posture, is because you're usually in a situation where you're maintaining a posture for 8, 10, 12, 15 hours a day, and then you were trying to spend like 10 minutes to get out of that position. Just general light stretching, it's not going to be enough because your light stretching is fighting against 8 hours of doing the opposite, right? Even light exercise might not be enough. So, the first thing you should always do is try and find ways to get out of that position that you've been stuck in for a long time. If you haven't realized, my whole goal is to teach you all sorts of little movements so that you don't get stiff, so that you keep on moving, so that you can dance and you can have a little bit of fun with your body. All right. When I say dance, I mean in like a very general sense, and then we're like a moving, having fun, grooving kind of way, not like do. Well, I mean, if you did that too, that'd be fine because that wasn't a really complex move. Anyways, so when you find ways to get yourself into new positions pretty frequently. Doesn't you don't have to be moving the whole entire time that you're sitting there at work. But if you have tried a sit stand desk, the whole purpose of that is to give you some options so that you're not stuck in one spot. So that your chair is not super ultra comfortable so that you don't get stuck there the whole time. You're leaning on one leg, you're like, oh man, this is like standing is awful. I hate this thing, right? Because that's why we stop standing at standing desks. We're like, man, it's so tiring. Why are we doing this? Why are we punishing ourselves? The reason why it's tiring is because we don't stand. We never use those muscles. We never put impact into those joints in that way. Typically, for people who like have a hard time switching to standing at standing desks, is because we don't spend that much time in that position and our body's not used to it, right? And we forget that the whole point of the standing desk is to continue moving around so that we're not stiff, so that we're not stuck like when we are in a chair. Cool? So, now that you know the goal is to be not stiff and not stuck, let's talk about some exercises that will firm up your muscles and do the opposite of what sitting does. When we sit and when we chill, there's a whole bunch of different things that are happening, right? Down here, your glute muscles are getting squashed. If you have a nice supportive chair, your hamstrings are also getting squashed. Obviously, I have this funny little stool and it's not quite that visual, but for the most part, when you're sitting down at a computer, on the train, driving in a car, your hamstrings are getting squashed, your glutes are getting squashed. Typically, they're not doing anything for like 8 hours, right? What happens when they don't do anything for 8 hours is they stop learning how to do things for the rest of the time where you might want your glutes to be working. And guess what takes over to compensate? Your low back. Other muscles in your hips, other stuff going on in your legs, but your low back takes on a bunch of extra burden when your glutes, the biggest muscles in your body, stop working. So, we're going to do some exercises to combine the low back and the glutes. We're going to do some exercises to counter the slouch, right? When we're slouching, all these upper back muscles are getting nice and stretched out, but these chest muscles are going to get very tight because they don't need to be long. You're stuck in this position. So we're going to try and stretch these out. We're going to try and contract those muscles. And when you maintain a certain amount of muscle tone, which is, when somebody's got big biceps and they're like just walking around with big biceps, part of the reason that they might have big biceps is one, they're physically bigger, but two, they have a little bit more tone. They're like constantly in a state of light flexing. All right. We want to get a constant state of light flexing in those upper back muscles so that they're pulling back just a little bit to help undo some of that. All right. So what do we cover? Move more so you're not stuck in this position, and then you have to spend all of your exercising days fighting the fact that you do 8 hours of this or 12 hours of this, and also more muscle tone in the directions that we actually want. All right, enough talking. Let's get to work. If you need a little bit of protection from the floor, feel free to grab a little bit of padding for your hips. If you do not need it, feel free to just jump on down to the ground. I'll demonstrate both ways. Ugh, we're laying down. Oh man, this is nice. The floor is kind of nice and chill. Okay, what we're gonna do, it's called Superman. We're going to contract our back muscles. We're going to pull our shoulder blades back. We're going to lift our hands off the ground if we can. You can keep your head neutral. You can look slightly up. We don't need to put a whole bunch of pressure on the neck. We've done a lot of joint stuff already today. But if you want to, you can look up nice and high to get that last little bit of range of motion. And then we're going to lift our legs off the ground. You're going to flex your glutes. You're going to flex your low back. You're going to flex your hamstrings. You're going to lift the bottom half of your body. All right? So that's the movement. For now, we're going to break it down into two pieces. We're going to do the upper half of the body. We're going to do the lower half of the body. If you start combining them, fine, don't worry about it. But we're going to do 5 reps focused on the top, 5 reps focused on the bottom, and that's our warm-up. All right? Lay back down. We're going to inhale, and we're going to contract some muscles. All right? And then we're going to hold for a second. Then we're going to exhale, and then we're going to slowly come down with control. Don't flop and slam your face back into the ground. 1, that will hurt. 2, you're giving up on a whole bunch of the muscle building, muscle strengthening benefit when you give up on that coming down portion. Cool? All right. Inhale up. Flex those low back muscles. Flex those mid back muscles. Bring your shoulder blades together and pretend you're skydiving or something. Whee! And come on back down. Whew. That is 1 rep. Inhale up. Exhale down. That's 2. I just remembered I said you can do just the front portion for now. That's 3. And 4. And 5. Inhale. Exhale. Down. Whew. Hopefully that warm up is feeling good. Feeling nice. You got it. You got it. You got it. Nice. We're moving down to the legs. Stick your hips into the ground. Lift the legs. Flex the glutes. Contract your hamstrings. Point those toes. Lift as high as you can. And come on back down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. That's 3. 2 more. Inhale up. Exhale down. That's 4. Inhale up. Exhale down. Oh, that is 5. We went a little faster on those. That's okay. That, hopefully, has your back muscles going, ooh, that was kind of intense. Good, because we got lots more sets of those. Spin around first, though. We're going to take a break from those. We're going to introduce all the different exercises, do a little bit of warm-up, and then we're going to get into our real heavy duty warm up, or not warm up, exercise. Next, we're gonna do some glute bridges. I don't think you need padding for this for most people, but if you need it, you need it, and stick with it. But I'm too lazy to set up enough padding to cover my whole body, so I'm gonna get rid of it. Next, from here, your heels are coming towards your butt. If you can't get them to get super close, that's okay. That's fine. Don't worry about it. But what we want to do is contract our glute muscles to lift our hips off the ground. All right? Push your heels into the ground and contract those glutes. Poke them, double check that they're working nice and hard, and we're hanging out here for 30 seconds. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. Remember, they're flexing. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, relax. Come on down. Woo! Those are glute bridges. Since we're already laying on our backs and the back side of our bodies are feeling tired, we're going to work on the front side now. All right, we're going to do some Pilates moves. I want you to flatten your low back on the ground so there's no space. If you want, you can tuck your knees up real quick to try and help flatten out your spine. And we're going to extend some legs in front of us to challenge our core. I think this is called tabletop in Pilates, where we're pushing our legs out. The further away you push your legs, the more your core is going to contract. And if you want, you can add your arms into it. If you put your arms in the same direction as your legs are facing, it'll help you get into a more intense crunch. You can hang out there. If you want, you can extend your arms back behind you. It's going to make it way harder, and it's up to you. 30 seconds. Let's go. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21. Make sure your low back is stuck to the ground. 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Oh my gosh, that was so long. I need to recheck my counting timing. All right, now we've done 3 of our 4 moves. Worked on the core. It's time to do the absolute worst move of all time. The one that we really truly need is called wall angels. All right. Wall angels are awful because of what I was talking about when I was talking about the standing desk thing, right? Maybe you've tried a standing desk and you're like, I absolutely hate this thing. Why am I so uncomfortable standing here just trying to do my work? And then you go back to seated. It's because you're being challenged, you're being forced to use muscles you don't use very often, and you're not very comfortable because you're not used to it, right? Same thing that we're about to do. Wall angels. I want you to bring your whole entire upper back up against the wall. Tuck your butt a little bit so that your low back is touching the wall. And I want you to elbow your wall. Attack your wall, but don't actually. And then from here, we're going to rotate the arms so that the wrists come up towards the back wall. All right, towards the wall. There is no back wall. We've been leaning against the wall the whole time. All right, so from here, you're going to feel a whole bunch of contraction in your shoulder blades, and you're going to feel a whole bunch of discomfort because your muscles are like, well, what are you doing? Why are you in this position? Maybe you're feeling tingliness in your fingers because the blood is escaping your arms and your nerves are going, what the heck is happening? That is all normal. All right. From here, our shoulder blades should be working real hard, contracting all the muscles in our upper back so that we can bring our elbows back. And when we rotate the wrist, a couple extra bonus ones kick in to make it just that much more optimal. And we're going to move from this position so we can get real good at contracting those muscles. All right, bring those elbows down. Keep on trying to touch your wrists to the wall. They're probably not touching, but just try your best. All right, if it starts feeling like it's really easy, chances are you're not contracting your back muscles nearly as much as you can be. All right, keep on contracting those back muscles. Bring the wrists back. Keep on going. Up and down. Bring your elbows to your ribs. Slowly bring the arms back up. Keep your low back against the wall. You're going to be tempted to do something like this, where you stick your belly out to make it easier on your shoulders to go up and down. Don't do that. That's not the point. The point is to get the contraction in the shoulders. When you stick your belly out, you're not using the contraction to do the work. Cool? All right, keep going up and down. Oh man, this is awful. All right, keep going. Come on down. I think this is the warm-up round, right? So we're just doing like 5. Up and down. This is probably 4. I don't actually know. Let's finish up with this one right here. And 5. Oh, if you did them slow, probably a whole bunch of places in your shoulders are feeling a little uncomfortable, and that is completely normal. All right. Wall angels are awful, and we hate them, but we absolutely should do them because they counter all the things that slouching stands for, and we have to fight slouching with something. Cool? All right, let's go. Back to the floor. We have spent like 40 minutes gently warming up, so I think it's time for us to amp up and do the hard stuff and wrap up soon after. Let's go. We are doing Supermans. Remember this? But instead of trying to do one part of the body at a time, we're going to combine the whole entire thing. We're going to stick our hips into the ground. We're going to lift up in front, lift up behind, and come down. You ready? Let's go. We're doing 10 reps. If you need to grab a little bit of foam, get a little bit of padding for your hips, feel free to do so. Relax. Get into position. And inhale up. Hold. Exhale down. That's 1. Inhale up. Exhale down. I probably should have told you how many we're doing before we started. We're doing 10, but we're 20% of the way there already. Cool. Let's go. Inhale up. Exhale down. That's 3. Inhale up. Exhale down. That's 4. Inhale up. Exhale down. Really contract those scapula, those back muscles, that low back, the glutes, the hamstrings. We want all those muscles kicking in and working together, right? We talked about how when you sit all day, your glutes forget to fire and when they're supposed to be helping out. This is us trying to teach our glutes to fire anytime our low back is firing. All right? I think there's like 7. We got 3 more. Inhale up. Exhale down. That's 8. Inhale up. Exhale down. That's 9. 1 more. Inhale up. Exhale down. That is 10. Whew. Hopefully you're feeling it in your low back a little bit right now. Maybe a little bit in your glutes. And we gotta turn over and continue with some glute bridges. Alright? More glutes. Heels on the ground. Close-ish to your bum. From here, we are contracting the glutes. We're pushing the hips up. Let's go. Push, 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 push. We'll hold it for 45 seconds this time. 45, 44, 43, 42, 41, 40, 39, 38, 37, 36, 35, 34, 33, 32, 31, 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23. If you feel that you're slipping, contract a little harder. Contract those glutes. 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, come back down. If your glutes are firing, your low back is tired, that is the job of the exercise. Breathe in. We're going to do some tabletop. All right. Low back flat to the ground. Extend your legs out in front slightly. Feel that tension building in your core. Extend your legs out if you're feeling like a badass. You don't have to if you don't want to. Let's go. 30 seconds. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Oh, relax. I'm probably going to say this when we were counting, but you should absolutely be breathing. All right. It's hard to hear when I'm breathing because I have to vocalize counting, but I'm breathing a lot. I go take tiny little breaths and go 39, 29, 28, 27. Ah, that's 3 of the 4. It's time for us to do some wall angels. Let's go. Oh, the real suffering begins. Everything else was probably feeling fine, and now it's time to actually suffer. Let's go. Low back, flush against the wall. Elbow your wall in the face. Boom, boom. Get some bonus points. Give them a little in the wall again. And let's move. Come on down. Come on up. Come on back down. Whew. Come on back up. Come on back down. Come on back up. Remember, our goal is to try our very best to bring the elbows against the wall. We have to contract our upper back muscles real hard to do that. And then we're rotating the arms so that the wrists are as close to the wall as possible so that you can get a little bit of bonus, and it is gonna be hard. Your low back, double check it right now. It's supposed to be touching the wall. You don't want to stick your belly button out. You don't want to stick your belly out. Oh, come on back down. And up. And down. And up. And down. And I should have been keeping count. 8. And up. And 9. And up. And 10. And up. When you bring your arms all the way up, how you do it is not nearly as important as that middle half chunk and then coming down. All right. When your arms are all the way up, you're probably not struggling with bringing your shoulder blades back. It's usually somewhere here where you're feeling the struggle, and that's where we mostly care about. We're trying to be able to move while holding some of that tension in the back, right? If you just went like this the whole time and you walked around with your chest completely out and your back contracted like this, and you couldn't move your arms without letting your, whole body deflate, that wouldn't be very useful for your posture, all right? So we're trying to teach our body to contract the back, but also still have all of our arms be useful, all right? What are we doing now? We're going to restart the whole thing. We're going to do one more round, and we're going to finish up, all right? Supermans, down to the floor. Grab some hip support if you need it. Supermans. Y'all ready? Let's go. Inhale up. Hold. Exhale down. Contract all those muscles in the backside of your body. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. I think that's 3. We've got 7 more. Let's go. Inhale up. Exhale down. 4. Inhale up. Exhale down. 5. Inhale up. Exhale down. 6. Inhale up. Exhale down. 7. Inhale up. Exhale down. 8. Inhale up. Exhale down. 9. Last one. We're going to hold for a little bit longer and then come down, all right? Inhale up. Hold. 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 Exhale down. That is our Supermans. All right, roll over. Glute bridges. Okay, cool. I thought I was going to knock the broom over and it was going to make a big dusty mess. And it's still a dusty mess, just not knocked over. All right, from here. Heels up to the butt. Contract those glutes, lift off. Whee! Come on up into the sky. Contract those glutes, poke them, double check that they are working hard. Put your hands on your hips so that you know immediately when your hips start dropping so you can remind yourself to contract. 45 seconds, 44, 43, 42, 41, 40, 39, 38, 37, 36, 35, 34. Poke your butt. Double check is contracting. 33, 32, 31, 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25. Keep breathing. Don't hold your breath. 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. We're almost done. Flex those glutes. Keep the core tight. Low back strong. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, slowly come on down. Breathe. Relax. Deflate into the floor. Melt into the floor. And now, core work. Let's get ready to wrap this up. Make sure your low back is touching the wall. No space there. Completely flat against the ground. If you need to, tuck your knees in a little bit to help you with that process. And as soon as you can, let's push those legs out just a little bit. Feel that core get engaged, kicking real intensely. Extend those legs as far as you're ready to for your 30 seconds. And let's go. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, come on down. Breathe. Chill. And we got one last round of wall angels. Y'all ready? Come on, let's get on up and let's do it. These are the last 10 reps. Make them count. You gotta suffer, alright? And I mean that in the nicest, most caring way possible. It's time to suffer. Let's do this. Low back up against the wall. Elbow the wall in the face. And then add some bonus points. Pa pa pa! And smack the back of your hands into the wall too. They probably will not hit, but you can try. Attempt it. Elbows against the wall. Wrists as far back as you can. We're going to move down. Keep your low back against the wall. Elbows down, wrists against the wall as best as you can. Slowly come on back up. When I say wrists as best as you can, I really mean it. My elbows and my wrists are not touching the wall right now. All right, I'm contracting my back muscles. I'm trying to stretch out my chest as best as I can while we're moving up and down, but I am absolutely, my wrists have not touched the wall a single time this whole entire day, all right? Because I don't have the flexibility. We are just working on doing our best, and our best is gonna be uncomfortable, all right? Whew. My low back has escaped from the wall again. I think this is 4. If at some point you're like, oh, hey, this isn't so bad anymore, you have probably stopped going as hard as you need to. So let's do it again. Elbows up against the wall. Rotate your wrist back, low back against the wall, and keep going. Ooh. Wow. And I think this is 6, 7. Keep breathing, don't hold your breath. 8, 9, and 10. That's it, we're done. Oh. Flop over. We've contracted the upper back so much. It's okay if you let it relax a little bit. Do a little wiggle, do a little shake, flop around. Oh. All right, we're ready to wrap. But don't forget, we spent the first huge chunk of the show getting our joints loose, getting our joints moving. So even if some of your muscles are a little tight, a little tense right now because we just worked them out, contracted them really hard for a whole bunch of reps over and over again, remember the goal is to stay moving. If you don't move, if your joints lock up, if your muscles lock up, it's because you're not moving. You get stiff because you're not moving. The muscle just keeps contracting and contracting and contracting and contracting and staying in the same position the whole entire time. And then all of a sudden you wonder why you can't move. So when you can, do a little hip wiggle, do some Shakira. When you can, do a little shimmy. I mean, you can do like the real shimmy where you bring your shoulders back and forth this way. You can do some version of shimmying where you're just moving your shoulders in any direction whatsoever. Combine it with the spine. Do some body rolls. Whee! And hopefully that helps you loosen up and feel better throughout the day. All right, that's enough of me. Man, those wall angels are tough. I just saw Buddha Crocodis comments over on TikTok. It is awful Ken angels. Hey, 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 hey. We don't call them Ken angels because they're awful, all right? I don't want to take credit for that. That's not what I want. I call them awful too, right? I say it's full of suffering. I dropped that word as the number one descriptor of that move, and I recognize why it's important, and I want you to recognize why it's important, but I don't like them. I just know that they're important. Oh, all right. Let me take a look at the chest. While I'm scooting my butt over, you should know that we do this live on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday morning, starting at 9 a.m. That means we started about an hour and 13 minutes ago. So if you want more of this, Saturday and Sunday mornings. That's how we start the day on the weekends. But our most common live, our standard live, is 9 p.m. Eastern time, which means it's in like 10 hours and 45 minutes. That is a hip mobility and side splits live. You'll probably see some of the same floppy, shaky principles, but for the most part, it's a very different live. The energy is a little bit more intense. It's a little bit more right into getting some mobility work done type stuff. All right. So if you're interested in working on your hip mobility, maybe getting off the floor a little bit better, getting your legs to do things at crazier angles, that that type of stuff. That's what happens at 9 p.m. Cool. If you hit follow, if you hit subscribe, hopefully you'll doom scroll into some of my normal content. The short form content that's not live is typically about trying to make movement a little bit more fun. I do a lot of like random movement challenges, looking things on the internet. I try to turn different people's homes into little mini gyms and try to demonstrate different exercises you can do at home. So every time I go visit a friend, their home becomes my gym. And try to inspire you guys to see your world as an opportunity to get a little bit of movement in, right? And hopefully take some of those ideas, you start incorporating them into your day. And the big main one is 2 minutes, all right? We didn't do more than 2 minutes of any one of those exercises that you hate. Wall angels in particular, we definitely didn't do 2 minutes, but you absolutely hated them and you're like, this is awful, I hate this, right? So don't sleep on those 2 minutes. 2 minutes can be a lot on your body. If you're waiting for coffee to drip down your machine during the mornings, you're waiting for your microwave to heat up your lunch in the noons, and you're waiting for pasta to boil at some other time of the day, you got plenty of time to get a little tiny bit of movement in. If you were going to be doom scrolling anyway, I hope you've hit follow, you've hit subscribe, so you'll doom scroll into my content where I can give you a nice, healthy, gentle reminder that a little bit of movement, a couple of calf raises, a couple of squats, a couple of lunges, a couple of Cossack switches, which comes from our late night 9 p.m. show, is a lot. And they add up, right? There's a technique for strength building called grease the groove. And in general, you're doing like half of the number of reps of an exercise that you can do. You're doing them with perfect form, and you're practicing the skill of being strong. And even though you never max out, you never do your maximum, you're just doing half of what you're capable of. So you can always stop and go back to, whatever your normal life is without feeling super beat up. Even though that's what you're doing, over time, the idea of greasing the groove makes your brain so good at firing the neurons, controlling your body to do the thing, makes you super efficient at the thing. In this case, I guess the motion I was demonstrating was pull-ups, that you get stronger. All right. So practicing a little gentle movement here and there makes you much better at gentle movement here and there, and it helps you feel a little bit more comfortable, helps you feel a little smoother, helps you enjoy life and do whatever else you gotta do. All right. I hope some of that messaging made it through, and you're deciding to pursue a little bit of wiggly, shaky, dancy looking stuff throughout your day, and hope you have a great, wonderful rest of your weekend. We're ready to wrap up. I'm gonna take a look at the chat, and we're almost done. Jax has sent lots of awesome emojis. Jax has recommended that we do some hip cars next. Are you trying to put all the suffering in one show in one day? Jeez, man, it's so mean. Queen says some waves. Neko Panda from the UK is on. Oh, right, because it's afternoon for you. Welcome back. Jax is sending some nice emojis. Queen RR says good morning. YouTube otherwise seems pretty quiet. There's a couple of people still on, so hello, welcome. I hope you had fun. I hope the suffering wasn't too miserable, and I hope you stay with it because it's real good for your back. All right, let's continue. I'm gonna take a look at TikTok chat. Oh wow, there's like 140 of you still online. Welcome. Hello. Usually I'm, far enough away from the camera to be able to demonstrate my body the long way on this very narrow chunk of screen. So I'm too far away to see the chat, but I'm checking it now. So if there's stuff you need to talk about, I'm here. Marie sends hearts. Oh, thanks, Marie. And has followed me too. Amazing. Serenity asks, what's for dinner? I don't know. That's too many hours ahead. The only thing that far ahead that I'm thinking about is the live at 9 p.m. tonight. All right. Ideni says, thank you. You're very welcome. Buddha Crocuda is upset about the Ken Angels. Serenity says quads and leg endurance, question mark. Let's see, is there something that comes before that question, or is that just a request for training in that department? It doesn't seem like there's anything else, so I'll answer that question. Quad and leg training. I think for most people, if you do a little bit of running, that will be enough. Unless you have a very specific goal and you can't run, the easiest thing to build up some quad strength is probably running up hills. If you do a 10-minute run, you'll feel defeated, and then you'll be done. And then you don't have to think about it again. You could also, build quads by going to a machine and trying to do squats really intensely for reps. That's 100% doable. But I imagine, unless there's a reason why you don't want to run, maybe do hill sprints, the much more whole body demanding version of that movement is probably running up a hill for like 10 minutes. If you can't do 10, do 5. If you can't do 5, do 3. That's fine. But your quads will get much stronger. Going uphill will make your quads get much, 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 much stronger than running on a flat surface because you have to lift your legs higher, right? And then you have to push all the way down. So you get a little bit more range of motion. And running uphill will make you way more tired way faster. So you'll get all the workout done way faster. And you'll be like, all right, I don't want to do this anymore because my legs don't work. Perfect. Efficient. All right. And your lungs get an extra bonus on top. And all the other muscles desperately trying to keep you moving so that you actually get up the hill, those muscles will also be working. So you get a little bit more done than if you just pump out squats. I'm not saying that pumping out squats is bad. I'm not saying that pumping out squats is not an efficient way to build your quads and build leg endurance. I'm saying that for most people, for what you actually need to like function well in normal life, if you did 5 minutes of running up a hill, you're probably done and it'd do great. You don't need to go find special equipment to do quad specific, squat specific type of work. Cool. All right. 111 says, are you on every day this time as well? Only on the Saturday and Sunday mornings, only on the weekends. But at 9 p.m. Eastern, I'm on every single day doing hip mobility and side splits. Cool. I'm gonna keep scrolling. I'm gonna keep scrolling, keep scrolling. Ohm says, I am 60. Can I exercise with you? And then followed up with I-16. Oh, okay. Yeah, 16 is plenty old enough. If you are doing these general exercises, they should be fine. Absolutely. Lois says, yes, I need to be flexible. Most of us need a little bit more mobility somewhere. My biggest issue right now is my upper back. I really suck at bending backwards, and my thoracic spine is very stiff. You might have seen in my cat cow that like I can get a bunch to happen at the low back, and then this whole entire middle chunk of my spine just goes straight up. That is thoracic mobility. I don't have that backwards bending very much. Buddha says, my arches are so flat, plantar fasciitis. There's a bunch of people on the internet who have a whole bunch of exercises for plantar fasciitis, and I've looked at them a bunch of times because one of my friends have complained about it recently, and I was like, oh, I should probably learn a little bit more. I don't know that much, but it does seem like that a lot of the things that you can do for them are basically strengthen up your feet muscles. And that is partially why I introduce sort of that movement, that clawing, sort of introducing what your toes should be capable of, hopefully to make people a little bit more interested in their feet and give them a little bit of extra training, give them extra little bit of love. Yeah. What else we got? I'm scrolling. Oh, it's not much in the comments. There's a lot of people who follow the live. Thank you guys for following the live. Miss Undertaker says, I think I'm the only one at gym that does that before and after a workout. That does that before. Oh, like shaking out, getting loose, doing the movement stuff to prepare your body before you work out. Because more people should definitely do it. Most people definitely do not do it. And part of the reason is because it looks a little funny, right? Like, how many people do you know do elbow circles and they go to the gym to do this crazy looking motion? Nobody does this. This is craziness. This is stuff you reserve for in your room at home, right? Like in the privacy of your own home stuff. It's not even that weird, right? How many times have you ever seen somebody do this with their knees? It's probably like a never on the internet only type of thing, right? And even on the internet, probably like one in a thousand of the internet personalities do something that looks like this, right? Um, we're not doing anything fancy, right? We're working directly in our joints, natural range of motion. We're trying to make sure that the whole surface of the joint gets used. We're not trying to do some crazy, complicated 15 pieces of equipment necessary like workout. We're just generally doing a little bit of movement that the body should be capable of, right? And nobody's doing it. Everybody's still injured. Everybody's all still, all messed up in all sorts of ways, right? So maybe you need a little bit of extra love, some thoughtful, gentle motion through your joints, and then, once you're warmed up, you can go do the real hardcore stuff, build up the muscles, whatever it is that you want to do. All right, let's see what else we got. Fizzin Princess says, I have a similar footstool. Amazing. Shi Lang says, I have the worst range of motion in my groin. My groin is extremely tight. The main exercise or main stretch I can think of right now off the top of my head for the groin is the butterfly. All right. To get started, if your groin is real rough, you might not even be able to get into a starting position that looks like this. But we do this stretch every single day in our hip mobility and side splits show. That's 9 p.m. in the evening, so you can join in for that. But what I want you to take away right now is the butterfly stretch. And I'll show you the frog pose in just a second. To get into the butterfly stretch, I recommend you do this against the wall. All right. So your low back, your butt, your shoulders, your head up against the wall. Bring your feet together, pull them in as best as you can. And the goal here to get a really intense groin stretch is to bring your knees down into the ground. because you have a really tight groin area, it's going to be really hard. So what we can do instead to make an easier variation is this. Elevate your butt a little bit, still sit against the wall, and elevate your butt a little bit. Actually, sorry, I misplaced the block. I don't know what I was thinking. Here we go. All right. If your groin muscles are super tight, you can't get into this position while seated on the floor, you can elevate your butt. And this block is absolutely facing the wrong direction. I keep on leaning too far to the left or to the right. Yeah, there we go. Boom. You can start like this. All right. And the goal is to bring your knees down towards the ground, to open it up. Right. So you can start here. As you get more intense with your groin stretching, you get a little bit more skilled. You can shift the block a little bit to change the height, right? If you have something that's lower to sit on, fine, that absolutely works. We're shifting the block because before we needed to start extra high to get into a comfortable position. Now we can move into a slightly less high position. But if you don't have a stool to do that, you don't have something to sit on to do that, you got to start adjusting and playing Tetris, all right? Eventually, when you get deep enough into the ground to get more or less something like this, it might look like this, it might look like this, whatever it is, we can add in some weights. Doesn't have to be heavy weights, doesn't have to be crazy, but the weights will help you make a little bit of progress faster, right? Once you find that this position is comfortable enough to sit in a little bit, if you add a little bit of baby weight, apply a little bit of pressure, that might go a long way to help opening up your groin, all right? For most people, if you want to get more flexible, but you also want to be able to move and use that range of motion, you got to build strength in your groin muscles as well. So one of the ways to build strength in your groin muscles is to use your groin muscles to lift said weights. This is when getting heavier and heavier and heavier will be a lot more helpful. I don't do very much of this in our daily life at 9 p.m., but it is definitely something that is worth doing and probably should be done. So now that you know that about your groin muscles, I think I'm ready to go back and check out what else is in the chat. Ugh. Oh no, I said I would do frog. The other thing you can experiment with, which is a stretch I don't particularly like, is the frog stretch. Where's my other piece of foam? Ah. All right. From the front, actually the front probably won't give you much of a visual. We'll do it from the side. From the side, the frog stretch looks like this. We're going to open up our legs directly to the side, apart from each other. We're going to try and keep the legs close to 90 degrees. So this angle is at 90 degrees. If you're not perfectly there, that's not a big deal at all. But that's the frog stretch. You're just leaning forward, trying to let your legs go a little bit wider, and you're hanging out in this position. You can add a little bit of movement, shifting your hips back and forth. When you're all the way stretched out, you're going to feel a whole bunch of tension here. You're going to feel a whole bunch of tension on the inside of your legs. And that gentle movement, hopefully, helps you loosen up your hips. Cool? All right. That is enough on that topic. Let's move on down the chat, or I guess up the chat. Let's see what else we got. Oh. Oh, nope. That's all we got. That's all we got in the back or at the top of the chat. Let's scroll back down and see if anything new has come in. And then if there's nothing new, we'll wrap up. It seems like we are good. Alec has sent a whole bunch of gifts. Hey, thanks, Alec. I appreciate it. All right. Boom. Oh, wow. There's still 130 people left. I thought I would have lost a bunch of you by the time we got to the frog stuff. Soggy Cat says, what can I do to relieve lower back pain? Lower back pain is a little bit complicated. All right. So the way you can start tackling it lower back pain is really complicated because it's tied to a whole bunch of different things. And how you perceive lower back pain might be different from how somebody else perceives lower back pain because at the end of the day, your brain is just interpreting some signals. and your body is sending some signals to your brain, and everybody's going to have slightly different variations. So your amount of pain that you're experiencing for having the same exact problem as somebody else might be completely different depending on all sorts of crazy things. But there's a dude out there. His name is Low Back Ability. And there's another dude out there named the Knees Over Toes Guy. They have some content specific for low back rebuilding, rehabbing of the low back. Their basic premise is you got to teach your brain, teach your body that it's strong, it can handle the position, and it will be okay, essentially. You should check out their work. The premise again is to get into positions where the low back is working, maybe not super hard, but working. Hang out in that position for a long time using an isometric hold of some sort, and using that to slowly teach your body this is an okay position. In this case, I'm leaning really far forward and I'm using my lower back muscles to hold my upper body up, right? When you are ready to do that, go ahead and explore knees over toes guy and low back ability, all right? I don't know if their usernames on YouTube is the same, but on Instagram, I think it's knees over toes guy and low back ability. Search those guys up. They'll have much more specific exercises, and their free stuff is more than enough to do everything that you need to do, especially the knees over toes guy. Cool? All right. But if you want to just relax your low back, there's a couple of positions you can try to get into to give yourself temporary relief, right? When I say temporary, I'm just saying hopefully the muscles around your low back start relaxing a little bit so they're not as tense. You're able to chill out and get some temporary relief. Stretching isn't going to give you permanent relief because your muscles inherently don't change. They're just less tense or more tense. Cool? All right. So, what I want you to try is to slowly come into something called child's pose. We're going to kneel a little bit. We're going to try and sit back on our heels. If you can sit back on a cushion so that your heels don't get as smushed into the ground, that would be good. And if you slowly fold forward and just let yourself flop into the floor, this might give you some relief. But that's only if you have general low back stuff. Sometimes, when you bring your knees to your chest and you have sciatica, that will irritate sciatica, and this is why it gets a little complicated. But if you're looking for a relaxing position where you can let your low back muscles chill out, this is a really good one. All right, try to reach your hands out real far and let your spine lengthen. If you want, you can try to add some movement, side bends. Because I don't know anything about your low back and your specific low back pain, I can only give you relatively general and chill little tips. And even if you did tell me more about your low back pain, I don't feel like I have enough expertise to give much better anyway. So you don't have to bother sending me more information if you don't want to. That little bit of movement should help the low back relax a little bit. If you find that it does not help you, you feel that it is getting more intense, you might have something a little bit more complicated than just general low back pain, and maybe you have sciatica. I don't know, but you might want to get that checked out. But low back ability has spent the last couple of years working on exactly that, building up your strength in the low back, building up strength in your hips so that they work better together, and to retrain your brain to not be afraid of movement so that you can go do things. Cool? Soggy Cat says, thanks for the recommendations. I'll check it out. Yes, they're really good. Knees Over Toes guy specializes in knees. That's like the first things that he put out, but over time he's expanded across a whole spectrum of taking care of your body. His knee stuff is really good. I've used it personally, and I am not paid in any way to endorse it. Not that, my opinion means anything because I'm just a rando on the internet. But I really liked it. It was like magic. I was like, whoa, hey, this works much faster than I thought. And um, I still do some of the movements occasionally for from that guy's recommendation, knees over toes guy. True Blue says your opinion means everything. Oh, thanks. For you it does, but for a random person coming in to my live for the first time, I'm just a random dude on the internet, right? But thank you, True. I appreciate it. All right, wow, we've done a whole bunch of 100-minute lives this weekend. We are done. We're done. We're done. We're done. We're done. I think there's nothing else left here. We lost a bunch of people in between talking about low back stuff. 130 people dropped into 75. So this is a good chance for me to wrap up. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming in, practicing a little bit of consistency, working on some relaxation, some wiggly, shifty, floppy stuff so that you can keep your body moving so you don't get as stiff. Hopefully, you've picked up some drills, you found something that you really like, or maybe something that you really need, and you can incorporate it into your normal life so you don't have to just come back to the live to practice it. You can just go, hey, look, this is real easy to do. I can do some wrist circles here, wrist circles there. I can look to the left, look to the right, do a little shimmy at the same time, turn it into a dance move, and have some fun with the movement that you're working on. All right. So I hope you got something valuable. And if you had a question, I tried to cover it. If I didn't see it, feel free to send it back in through the chat. I'm probably not ignoring you. Sometimes TikTok, when there's too much accumulation of chat and information, stuff gets erased. I just can't scroll any further back. It just gets cut off. So if I miss something, let me know. And Travel Directly has put in chat at Splits on the Side is his YouTube channel. Thank you very much. And meant to tag you. Cool. All right, what have I covered? I've thanked you. Hope you took something valuable away. Most of my content is about trying to make movement a little bit more fun. Trying to see different parts of your home as opportunities for movement. Most of us don't need crazy heavy weights to get a little stronger, get a little bit more mobile, to move a little bit better. Your home is plenty, right? And we don't even have to lock into just calisthenics specifically as a category of how you can train your body. But if you're doing calisthenics, that's great. You can do calisthenics on a lot of different pieces of equipment. But if you've seen some of my videos, kitchen counters, incredible. Coffee tables, amazing. 2 yoga blocks can help you do a whole bunch. All right. Over on YouTube, Aesthetic Universe 21 asks, is it good to start calisthenics at an early age? Yeah, I think so. How early is early for you? Are you talking about like 2 years old, 3 years old? There are plenty of tiny children on the internet who can like do muscle ups at the age of like 5 with like 40 pounds of weight already, and they seem to be okay, but um I imagine they'll just be really, really strong compared to their children, their counterpart children at whatever youth sports that they participate in. We don't know if they'll be really, 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 really good and dominate at any particular sport because they're not necessarily training the sport. They're just really strong for their size at the moment, right? But having the ability to move your body in all sorts of different ways really early on, building that skill, maybe that makes it a lot easier to learn a whole bunch of new skills that are like tangentially related. I call them like cousin skills. So like you have like a main skill. For example, if you play tennis really well, you get much better at ping pong fast, right? Maybe you won't be super good at ping pong, but you'll get the basics of it really fast. You'll understand topspin, you'll understand forehands and backhands and all sorts of spin, and then you might be good at squash or pickleball or any of the other paddle sports, right? If you get really good at rollerblading, then skiing is not necessarily that far off. If you get really good at surfing, you know, skateboarding is not necessarily that far off. So I call them like cousin skills. They're like not the same skill, they're not identical, but they're close enough that you're like, okay, I got a little bit of, some experience in something else and I can adapt it to this new thing. And in calisthenics, because you are doing handstands, you're doing push-ups, you're learning how to use your body from a pretty young age, that's pretty advantageous because you got a head start, right? So it could be good. Let's see, not like pretty young, but as a preteen. Oh, absolutely. I think preteen would be before 13, right? 12, yes. 13, 14. Um, I think at 12 years of age, you can absolutely be working on calisthenics. I think maybe the focus should be on getting the whole body working together because typically that is what's going to be important for a young person, right? That could be stuff that looks more like lunges, right? Like something that feels more athletic, feels more movement-y. Push-ups are probably fine, squats are probably good. Hanging leg raises. I think most of calisthenics will be perfectly fine for a younger preteen to be starting. Because I started around that time at around 11, 12. So I think that'll probably be fine. Um, one of the advantages of calisthenics in particular is you're not carrying and crushing yourself with huge amounts of weight physically being applied to you. Your muscles will still have to move like crazy to get some of that leverage so that you can do crazy things. But um, the chance of you being a little rowdy, having too much fun with your friends, dropping a 35-pound weight on your foot, much, 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 much lower when you're doing calisthenics and you don't have a 30-pound weight to drop on your foot, right? So I think calisthenics is a great way to get young people moving and to do it with very little equipment so that you can train and teach people to care about movement and care about fitness from a relatively young age to see the world as the opportunity to do push-ups from all sorts of crazy places. Because that's what I'm all about. Doing push-ups from crazy places. All right, that's it. Ugh. If there's no other questions, I'm going to wrap. Oh, a whole bunch more people came in after I started talking about young people doing calisthenics. Cool. If you just popped in, you have no idea what this show is about. We did about an hour and a half of live joint mobility and gentle movement through each of our joints. And then we did some back and posture and strength work for the backside of our body so that we can all stand a little taller, be a little bit more confident in our posture. And that's how we do Saturday, Sunday mornings. In the evenings, we do side splits and hip mobility. We put our hips through a whole gauntlet of crazy movements to make them move a little bit better so that we can work on advanced hip mobility, aka the side splits at the end of all that, right? That is the regular schedule. And the majority of my content is about trying to make fitness a little bit more fun, trying to make movement something you want to incorporate into your day, right? I want you to be strong enough to go see some of the crazy things on the internet and go, oh, I can try that. I can do that. And I want you to be comfortable enough with your body, to be confident enough in your body to go try some cool things on the internet that you see. Maybe not the crazy ones, not the ones that need like a bajillion points in power, but maybe a little bit more flexible stuff, a little bit more of the basic handstandy looking stuff where you're just posing real cute. Those things, I absolutely want you to be confident about trying out because your body moves well enough for you to give it a try. All right. A little bit of strength work, a little bit of mobility work will get most of us there. And I hope you like the live enough to keep trying it out with me. All right. That's it. We're 100 plus minutes deep into the live. I'm ready to wrap up. I am. Ooh, we got another question. Aesthetic Universe over on YouTube says, I lose consistency after a week of good practice. I'm trying to do at least 5 pull-ups in one sitting. Minor steps first, but I don't have a bar. I saw your floor sweeping. Oh, the floor thing, but I don't want to sweep the floor. Okay, I hear you. If you're willing to go outside, if you can go find a jungle gym, maybe those still exist, maybe those don't. You can not use the word jungle gym. You can find a kids park, right? You potentially are pretty young. If you go find a kids slide, typically you have to climb up a certain platform and then you drop down the slide, right? If it's a kids slide for like small kids, like 5 to 7-year-old type kids, as a 12-year-old, you might be able to climb onto the side of the platform and you might be able to do some pull-ups from that. All right. That's a very specific example. Hopefully you immediately think of a playground that's relevant to you that you can actually use. You just need something that you can wrap your hands around to do the pull-ups. Preferably, you don't want to be too far off the ground so that if you lose strength in your hands, you don't fall a whole bunch of distance to the ground, right? So being 12, I mean, I don't know how tall you are. I've seen 12-year-olds that are like 5'10" or something crazy. So if you're a little on the shorter side, then go to places where shorter people hang out. Kiddie parks might be the place. If you're on the taller side, you can go basically anywhere and you'll find something that you can hang off of because you're tall, all right? I'm trying to think of very specific examples of places that you can attempt to do a couple of pull-ups at without cleaning the floor. I do think cleaning the floor is a really good place to start. If you want to just take some dirty laundry, maybe find some cardboard from a package that just arrived and you want to do some floor cleaning and do what I call penguin pull-ups because it looks like you're sliding across the floor like a penguin would on the ice. If you know you can do 5 of those, 10 of those, 15 of those, you don't have to keep doing them. You just have a round number of what you're capable of, right? And once you know that you're capable of it, you don't have to go back. There's absolutely no reason for you to keep going if you can do something more intense. But they do a really good job of practicing the movement, right? Pulling yourself like so, keeping your elbows behind your back, tucking it in towards your back, and doing that. Let me think. Other than a kids park, where else do you reliably get something to hang off of that would be good for somebody who is a bit younger? You can also work on rows. There are two main directions that we do pulling from, right? The pull-ups are this general motion. Rows are this general motion. You bring your elbows back. So there are a couple of crazy looking exercises that you might want to try. One of them you don't need any equipment for, but it's also not very easy. It might be really hard. If you lay down on the ground, and you might need a little bit of padding for your elbows, depending on how comfortable this feels for you. But if you try to bring your elbows really far back, as far as you can to lift your chest up off the ground, to lift your back up off the ground, you're mimicking part of the movement of rows. All right. And when your pull ups get to a really advanced pull up, when you're not just trying to bring your neck up to the bar or chest to the bar, you might one day want to progress into muscle ups. When you're doing muscle ups, you're basically combining the end motion of that row. You're bringing your elbows really far back to pull the bar down towards your ribs. And that motion that we're practicing right there is exactly that chunk. You're lifting your whole body, or I mean, at least part of your body weight, off the ground using those back muscles. All right. The other thing you can do for your back muscles that isn't exactly in the same realm of skill training for your pull ups is work the muscles in the back. You got shoulder muscles, you got like 16 different muscles in your back. Those all contribute a little bit. The main puller in a pull up is your lat muscles, is going to be the lower back thing where people get Dorito bodies where the waist small and the back gets real big, that chunk back here. But having a strong everywhere else is not a bad place to start if you don't have a pull up bar. All right. That could mean you're working on contractions where you're doing stuff like this, where you're shrugging, where you're pulling your shoulders back, where you're doing other stuff. If you can, go find a pull-up bar. That is going to be the fastest way to start practicing the thing that you actually want to practice, right? Trying to think. Where else? I think I'm not an outside person, to be honest, but I really want to maintain consistency. I tried hanging off the door, but the surface is hard and it makes my knuckles ache. Ah, okay, good. So you have to, oh man, I can't believe I forgot about that. Hanging off the door is great. What you can do is And we're not talking about the door frame. We're talking about the door, right? Like your door is slightly open or something, and you're able to put your hands over the door like this? Or are you crimping your door frame like this, and your fingers are doing all the work, and your knuckles are hurting that way? What is the knuckle pain coming from? If you're doing this and your hands are hurting, you probably should find a way to do something like this, where you can claw your hands onto whatever it is that you're holding. All right, because that will be much easier on your hand strength and actually let you train your back. Because when you're doing this, your weak part is going to be your finger strength, right? Your little tiny fingers are not going to be able to hold you up nearly as well as the ginormous muscles in your back are going to be able to do. And to make the door hang a little bit more comfortable, let me see if I you gotta check your doors. All right. Hopefully, because you are a preteen, the doors will not be too beat up by you putting all of your weight on it. But if you stick a little bit of padding underneath your door to support it, so that it try not to use something squishy. Try to use something a little bit more dense that won't get squished under your body weight. That will protect the door, and that'll protect the hinges. That'll protect the infrastructure of your home. All right. You might also want to see if you can get a door stop of some sort to keep the door from swinging back and forth so that you don't feel like you're way more scared than you need to be, like the door is going to close on you and you're going to smash your fingers into the door frame. That is probably going to be a decent setup. Another thing that a lot of people have done is they've taken some bed sheets, taken some fabric, maybe a thinner towel, depending on how much wiggle room is around your door frame. If your door frame and your door fit absolutely perfectly together, this might not work. But if you have less, perfect door trim and you got a little bit more space, you might be able to stick something, fabric, into the door frame. One end is tied in a knot, so it won't come back out. Close the door on it, and then you have some ropes on the other side of the door frame that you can use to do pull-ups on. Typically, when you do that, your weakest link will be your grip strength, holding on to your handles. But it's going to be way more comfortable than stabbing your hands into doors. Cool. What else? I don't know if your parents, your family would appreciate that you're using the door for pull-ups, and if you show them that that's what you're doing, maybe they'll get you a pull-up bar. So that might be the right path after all. Let me think. Is there anything else? No, I think that's all I got for you. I hope some of that information was helpful. Maybe you've already watched enough YouTube videos explaining how to do pull-ups on the super budget end of calisthenics, trying to figure out how to do it without a pull-up bar because you've already seen my content of doing the floor sweeping thing. So you probably have good information. All right. What is the best time to train our muscles? The best time to train your muscles is when they are recovered, when you can do your best work. So sleep well, eat well, and then you can train well. If you train too much, you're not resting enough. Your body is not prepared for you to do your best job. All right. For most people, endurance is fun, it's cool, but it's not that important once you get to a certain level, right? If you can run a little bit, you can do enough push-ups, you can do enough pull-ups. You don't need to beat yourself up and do crazy amounts of pull-ups. You don't need to do 1,000 pull-ups, right? That type of training puts a lot of wear and tear on your joints. And that type of training tends to beat up your body quite a bit. And then you need a lot more time to recover. The more time you need to recover, the much, 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 much more difficult it is going to be for you to stay consistent, right? If you cannot stay consistent, there's a lot of difficulty in seeing results in your training. Aesthetic says, I meant like in time. Was the best time? Oh, like how much time are you spending on training your muscles? It depends what your goals are, right? If you're going to do a specific sport and you need a specific type of strength for that sport, like for example, if you wrestle, right? One of the main important muscle groups is this right here, rowing, pulling the enemy toward or pulling your opponent, not your enemy. Everybody's just an opponent. Pulling your opponent towards you to throw them off balance. If that is your main goal, then that is a muscle you might want to train a little bit more. You'll still want to train when it's well rested. You'll still want to make sure that it's taken care of, you're sleeping well, you're resting so that it's in its best shape to perform. But you might want to focus more on that specific muscle group because you have a use case for it, right? It's sport specific training. If you are just in general trying to be a little bit stronger, trying to be a little faster, there's a couple of calisthenics moves that you're really interested in doing because it looks cool, because it makes you feel happy, then it depends. If you're only working on one at a time and you're focused on just one, then go spend a lot more time on that one. If it's purely a skill based movement, like more like handstands, you still need strength, you still need coordination, but it's a lot more skill based, trying to figure out how to balance back and forth and leaning, right? If you think about a handstand similar to how you would stand, standing is very much the same skill, except you're using your arms versus you're using your legs. Your legs are a little, your hips are a little bit more optimized for staying stable, but you can get closer with your arms than you would think based on how people do handstands. um, how much deeper do I want to go into this? If you're working on a skill that's more about maintaining balance, that's more about maintaining a position, and it's more about alignment so that your bones are stacked properly on top of each other so that you're in a position, that is a skill you should spend much more time training because it is a brain skill. It is a neuromuscular connection skill. Neuromuscular just means how your brain is connecting to your muscles, right? And how you have control over those things. You need to spend time in those positions in order for your brain to understand how to move your body. When you're doing a movement that is more about just brute strength and you're focusing on one or two muscles at a time for the most part, that you can focus on the same way most people typically train for things. 3 reps of 8 reps. When you're at 8, you should be pretty close to not being able to do another good, clean, perfect rep. For most people, that'll be plenty. But you did mention that you were working towards 5 pull-ups. So if you're working towards 5 pull-ups, occasionally, you want to try and see how many you can max out on, how many reps you can absolutely do. But for the most part, you don't need to do that to increase your numbers. If you can do 5 on your best case scenario, if you did 3 a couple times a day, you'd never, go so hard that you can't move anymore. You're like, "Ugh, my back muscles are beat up." You can do something called greasing the groove. All right, greasing the groove is this idea that you train your brain to be really good, really efficient, really effective at a certain movement because you keep on practicing it. And you keep on practicing it with perfect form, with the best form that you got. So you're never so tired that your form gets a little sloppy or a little bit, grunting and trying a little too hard. And when you teach your brain how to do that very specific thing really well with a lot of practice, your pull-ups will magically go up because your body just got good, your brain just got really good at doing the thing. So there's lots of different ways to train for strength, and it really depends on your goals. If you just care about pull-ups, technically the answer is do more pull-ups. Do more pull-ups in a specific way so that you can do pull-ups without beating your body up. You can do pull-ups to reinforce the good things that you want to make sure you practice. And how much time you spend in it is entirely dependent on how much time you got and how much time you want to spend doing the other stuff, right? Because it's not just about training. For your muscles to get stronger, for you to become a stronger human being, you need to rest. You need to eat well so that you got nutrients to recover. And you can treat all of that time as training time if you really wanted to get, stretched out in the definition of what's training time. A couple minutes is fine. You really don't actually need more than a couple minutes in each muscle group. So, because if you think about it, if you do a pull up, how many seconds are you actually doing the pull up? It's like 3 seconds. So if you were to do 8 of them, it takes a half a minute, maybe a minute if you go really slow. And then you can rest for 2 minutes. Do you count that as part of the in time? Maybe. But if you rest for 2 minutes, maybe you rest for 3 minutes. Maybe there's a really hard workout. You rest for 4 or 5 minutes. Great. That rest time is really important. The reason why the rest time is important is because you need rest in order to be able to do more reps. And we want you to do really good reps. We don't want you to do sloppy reps where you're swinging, you're flopping, you're going crazy all over the place because that's helping you to learn really bad habits. All right. We want really good, clean reps so that your muscles learn exactly how they're supposed to move for the most efficient, most effective rep that you can get. And that might mean you have to rest a little bit more. That is going to be dependent on how long it takes for you to recover. All right. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. If you're brand new to an exercise, your muscles might be cramping up. They might be going crazy right off the bat, and you'll be like, what's happening? I can't move. That's totally normal. That means you probably need way more time off to relax, to chill, to flop around, to let the muscles relax before you get back into your next set. But it might mean 2 weeks from now, after doing, 5, 6, 10 rounds of exercises, right, of pull-ups over the course of several days with some rest in between, you've very quickly grown and adapted to that movement. Now you might only need 2 minutes of rest in between each set, right? So it is very subjective to how you're feeling. And the way you can test how you're feeling is you can try to do as many really good reps as possible. I want you to rest enough so that you're basically able to do almost the same number of reps throughout. So if you started with your pull-ups and you're like, the first set, I'm crushing it. I'm gonna do 5 reps. I want you to rest enough so that you can get 4 or 5 reps on that second go around. And then I want you to rest enough so that you can get 4 or 5 reps on the third go around. Most people, especially when they're new, they're gonna jump right in and then they're gonna do 5. They're gonna rest for a little bit. They're not gonna be able to rest enough time because they get a little antsy. They're like, oh, been waiting too long. I want to go play video games, whatever it is. And then they're able to do 2 more reps. And then the third rep is all sloppy. You're swinging all over the place, and it's not a very clean rep. You're just training for the wrong thing, right? You're wasting time. So spend the rest time that you need so that you can focus on doing really good, high quality work. And if you combine all that stuff together, that might be a lot of minutes. Just depends on how many of those you want to do. There's a whole subculture out here now that's talking about doing 2 sets or maybe doing one really good set. The general internet for the last couple of decades, much longer than you've been alive, is like 3 to 5 sets of a particular exercise. The more sets that you do, the longer it's going to take. And it seems like you can get pretty comparable results with 2 sets instead of 3. So if you want to be a little bit more efficient with your time, maybe 2 reps or 2 sets is enough. Aesthetic Universe has responded to my long ramble and it has said, I focus on making all the muscles stronger, not for show, but for defense and self-awareness, but I'm lost on which specific workouts are more reliable. I did do some digging and there are really a lot of choices. Yes, there's absolutely a lot of choices because your body is designed to do a lot of things. It's a complicated machine. The muscles that you're using to do this is very different from the muscles you're using to do this, from the muscles you're using to do this, from the muscles you're using to do this. All sorts of different muscles throughout the body. If you're trying to stick to the basics of getting stronger faster, you'll tend to want to do the movements that work the most muscles at the same time as possible. Those would be the pull-ups, the squats, the push-ups, the lunges, the rows, the back extensions, the hanging leg raises. If you check out Reddit and you go to Bodyweight Fitness, that's the subreddit's name, they have a really solid routine called the recommended routine. You should absolutely check that out. It is going to be a little overwhelming at first to take a look at that. One of the things you told me just now is that it's really hard for you to stay consistent. Okay. But you do have this goal of wanting to be stronger across your whole body for defense and self-awareness. I'm gonna close this door. There's a dog that's really yappy all of a sudden. I wonder what's going on over there. But if your goal is to become consistent first, your best bet will probably be to pick two, maybe three exercises off that list and just do those. All right. It is really hard to stay consistent when the first thing that you're being told is you have to do an hour of that thing consistently. And then you have to learn 8 different moves and 10 different variations of those 8 moves, right? That's a lot of stuff going on. And that is a lot of how the internet makes fitness feel like when you're first starting out. My recommendation is to pick 2 or 3 good moves. For you, since you're starting out, squats, pull ups, and push ups. They'll be perfectly fine to start with. Do what you can, do them often, rest, make sure nothing feels uncomfortable, make sure your joints are feeling happy with you, and do that for a little bit so you build a base up. Once you have built up consistency, you can start exploring other things that you want to do, right? You're like, oh, this cool new movement that I saw on the internet works. Apparently, this specific thing, you can start adding it in because you've already set time aside every single day to do your exercises. Now, if you add another 3 minutes in to do whatever that new thing is, it won't feel that crazy. It won't feel that overwhelming. If you start trying to do and building a list of 15 exercises that you're going to do every other day, that is going to feel like a lot. It's going to be much, 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 much more difficult for you to stay consistent with, right? So, um, that's my general recommendation for getting into fitness, getting into calisthenics, for building the habit, for getting into a regular thing. Start with something much, much, much easier than you think you should be doing. Maybe it's not enough, right? A lot of people will tell you you should be doing this exercise, that exercise. That's like you said, there's a ton of exercises that you should be doing. It might not feel like enough, but do too much, it's going to be much harder to stay consistent, right? And you might already know that. Maybe that's a life experience you've already had because you've told me you've already tried to stay consistent and you're struggling with it. So see if you can make whatever it is that you're trying to do simpler. The simpler it is, the easier it will be to do. The easier it will be to do, the easier it is to stay consistent with, right? So I hope that helps. All right, what we got left? There's still a handful of people. I saw some comments pop in over on TikTok. So I'm gonna take a quick scroll and see what's going on. Travel Roxy seemed to answer some stuff. Let's see. Izzy Pepnex says, you also do lives in the morning or mostly informative education or stretching only at night? The stretching and hip mobility is at night. The hip mobility side splits happens every night at 9 p.m. Eastern, which is, oh, it's really 11 something. The 10 hours from now ish. And then the lives in the morning, we started at 9 a.m. They were more gentle, more chill. They were about moving your joints through their full range of motion, about starting your day a little bit more fun and loose rather than, jumping right into targeted stretches for the side splits. And the yes, so we just been running for a while, and then we had somebody come and ask about pull-up stuff, and so I was answering some questions. That's why this feels maybe a little bit more formational. Honor the Rebel says, "Do you have any tips for runners to have better knees or to get rid of knee pain?" No, that is not something I have much expertise at, but there is a dude called Knees Over Toes Guy who is very good at re-strengthening and rebuilding knees. You might need something more specific because you are also running at the same time. If you've been running for a while now, months and months and months and years and years and years, and you're having knee pain, that might be something that you should go to Knees Over Toes Guy for. But if you're just starting running and you're having knee pain, that might be something that's more form related, and you might need to go find something that is more about running form, maybe running posture, maybe some sprinting drills to teach you form. And so what I'm saying is there might be 2 different avenues of research that you need to do. Cool? All right. That looks like it is it for TikTok. And over on YouTube. Hey, that's so nice. Static Universe. I appreciate the compliment. I hope you got some valuable information, and I hope you keep in touch and let me know how the training goes. Cool? Good luck to you. And I'm ready to sign off because I've been here for 2 hours. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming in, practicing a little consistency. Hopefully, if you were here for some of the early stuff, the first hour of this live, you worked on some gentle mobilization so you move a little smoother, you're a little less stiff. And now we've been sitting for a long time that you actually need to put it to work. All right, you gotta use it. I'm using it right now. If you're interested in more content like this, we do more of these more gentle lives at 9 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday morning, and in the evenings, 9 p.m. Monday through Sunday, we do side splits and hip mobility. So if you want your legs to move a little smooth, or you want to kick a little higher, you want to move a little bit better on the floor, that is what's happening at 9 p.m. plus side splits, which is just advanced hip mobility, right? One of the things that I do care about a lot is consistency, right? That's why the live happens Monday through Sunday. It is because I used to be super inconsistent at working on my side splits. I've wanted to work on these for like 15 years, and every year I would do like a couple days, and then I'd bail, and then I'd do them again until the next year, and then it'd be on my to-do list. New Year's resolution, we're gonna do some more side splits, and then I wouldn't get anywhere. So at some point, I decided, hey, this is ridiculous. I can't keep doing this. I need to change the way that I program my training so that I can actually be consistent with consistency as my number one goal. And that is how this live came into existence. I knew that if I invited a whole bunch of other people to train with me at the same time, and if I did it every day, I would be extra incentivized to come back and make sure that I do my training. That also means, however, that my training is optimized so that I can recover from it on a daily basis and that I'm not too beat up to keep doing it, right? And if you've hung out in the fitness universe a little bit for a while, usually it is not recommended that you just keep on grinding every single day. It's recommended that you take some time off, that you take some rest, that you heal, that you grow your muscles and recover and all that stuff. Rest so you can do it with proper form. That is still true. But you got to figure out the balance between consistency and recovery so that you can actually combine those things and make progress long term. That's why the show is not mandatory for you to come every single day of the week. You can rest as much as you want. But for me, um, the show is set up so that I know I'm just about able to recover from it and I can keep going on a daily basis. So it's not so intense that I'm super beat up. It's not so easy that I get no benefits. And hopefully, we take that principle, those ideas, and we start to we, as in you guys, start incorporating that into your own life so you can find cool ways to incorporate consistency with enough training, whether that's learning a new skill, studying, whatever it is, that you can combine both of those together and you can crush whatever else you care about, whatever else you want to get better at, whatever else you want to be the number one badass at. All right. So that's it. That's the live. Wow, I can't believe we've run for 2 hours and 15 minutes today. This might be my longest live, and we had conversation the whole time. So thank you for being here. Thank you for engaging in the chat. Thank you for asking questions. I hope I did a decent job with answering some of those questions. And if I couldn't answer them directly, I sent you to somebody better who might have a better answer for you. All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great rest of your weekend. I will see you all real soon, like tonight at 9 p.m. for side splits and hip mobility. Hit follow, hit subscribe, and thank you, Aesthetic, for the questions and the compliment there at the end. I appreciate it. All right. And Queen on Earth, thank you for agreeing with the compliment. I appreciate that too.